it's a way for you to participate, like, I'm trying to think, like, individually within the economic structure outside of, like, your normal, like, trade, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So
Like,
kind of, I think going back to that original point of with the Dutch East India Company, right? That
yes,
this was the first time that general everyday public could make a few extra bucks in investing
buy
in
into
something.
big,
Yeah.
big ventures in that sense, right?
Yeah,
Like,
multi-million dollar ventures and companies and all that stuff that yeah, you can have a piece of some of the most like biggest companies in the world, which before that would be like a closed door uh what's it called, like
yeah, meeting,
business deal. Yeah,
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 that you wouldn't be invited to.
backroom deals kind of thing,
Yeah,
which obviously
right.
still happen, but yeah,
Yeah, but in the case of publicly traded companies, right? Like if I wanted to, I don't know, like Microsoft or Facebook or Apple, like these are billion-dollar companies. I can have a piece of that company, and I technically am not limited in the amount that I could potentially
yeah,
buy into it, right? Like if I'm really invested and I want to be like a minor shareholder or even a major shareholder within a company, if you had the money, you could do it, right? Like you could, it might be over time, but yeah, you could definitely get to the point where you do have a real stake within the economy and within different businesses.
yeah,
That yeah, you definitely weren't able to do prior to something like the stock market, right?
yeah. Especially if you go back to that scenario, yeah,
Yeah. The only actually, I guess the other thing that I didn't really talk about in this episode, at least, is that there are also aspects of the stock market where you can choose to buy things on essentially like a line of credit.
yeah,
That like when you like kind of use leverage essentially to buy stocks, so that's another kind of interesting aspect of the stock market. So similar to how we talked about with the housing market, I'm gonna go buy a house. I'm not going to buy the whole thing in my own money in cash. I'm going to get a mortgage and I'm able to
yeah. Pay for
purchase
it
it.
in
Yeah.
pieces, yes.
Yeah. So even though I own my house, I technically only own whatever, 20% of my house, right?
Correct, yeah,
But like obviously you have to pay that credit line of credit back. But in the case of the stock market, we have something called like margin like accounts, which allows you to get those line of credits. You may also have a situation where if things are looking a little bit too over leveraged, or that a certain investment that you're invested in using that leverage isn't doing so well, you might have something called a margin call that happens. And that's where it actually, if anyone's seen that movie, there's literally a movie that's called Margin Call.
margin call.
Yeah. Essentially, if the institution who's lending that money feels that the the bet, so to speak, is too risky, they might call a margin call on your account, in which case that they're asking you to pay back some, if not all,
Oh,
of
yeah,
the line of credit that they've kind of given you, right?
yeah,
And that obviously is going to change some things up in terms of how you get to invest in the market, what's going to determine the value of things.